So, Chavra, how
I'm
we
a pick
doing?
and pop kind of guy.
What? All
Nothing.
right. Anyways, guys, thank you for coming on. As you can see, we're all fired up for Lag BaOmer. We have a friend of ours, Joshua Hyman, who's actually on his way, and we have someone who's there, who's actually in the cave. His name is Rabdani Sawson. He revealed himself finally. And before we start, I'm just going to pass it over to Samson Schiff. Well, I admit someone. Samson, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, we'll just wait for the guy for whoever you're admitting to be admitted.
Yeah, he's
I'll
coming
say
in.
it.
He's coming in.
The last guy.
Yeah. Seems like there's a little bit of a delay with
Baruch
that.
Hashem. So we'll get started. So we know that this whole year is Bezrat Hashem, and I asked Jack before this, so I have the Yishur. This should be that we're learning tonight, and learning for all of Israel should be for the Louis Nishmat, our Rabbi David Lehrfield, who passed away 2 days ago, I believe. He was a big mashpia and big rabbi in North Miami Beach, real influencer on the entire community. And also for my beloved grandfather, who also passed away within 2 weeks ago. Bezrat Hashem, this learning that we have today should be Li'inui Mishmatam. Their souls should have an aliyah in heaven. Bezrat Hashem. Back to you, Jack.
Amen. So we're talking about patience. Thank you, Samson, for that. Rabbeinu says sometimes when people don't want to suffer a little, they end up suffering a lot. So Rabbeinu talks about when to push and when to wait. When you just can't fall asleep, it's no use trying to force yourself to sleep. The more you try to force yourself, the more sleep will elude you. The same applies to many other things. It is not good to force yourself too much, because the more you try to force yourself, the stronger the opposing forces will become. You know, it's a crazy thing. The whole sleep idea that Rabbi Nachman just touched on. Donnie Sawson once told me, Saturday nights after Shabbos, we're all excited. We're planning for the week and how to bring in Shabbos into the next six days. And your mind is racing. As we have trouble falling asleep on a Saturday night. So Rabbi Nachman is saying, don't force yourself to sleep. Just chill. At times, this applies even to prayer and devotion. You should certainly make every possible effort to sanctify yourself and attain true devotion. That's the goal, to get to that state where we're dveikus with Hashem. When something can't be done today, don't leave it for tomorrow, because the world never stops for a moment. Man's world consists only of the present. We only have the present. Ashi and I were literally talking about before how every single day is different. You don't know the obstacles today. My alarm had no sound. When does that ever happen? I had all these plans for today, waking up at a certain time, and boom. I got up an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Every single day is different. You're not going to replicate the day you had yesterday. We know in Sikha Aleph, right? I don't even have to say it, right? The way you viewed Hashem, the way you can't even describe the way you viewed Moshe is ready. You can reveal it, right? You can't even describe it to yourself the way you felt Hashem the day before, or way you're gonna feel towards Him the day after. You can't put it into words, right? So we can't. All we have is the present. When Hashem is giving us an opportunity to attach ourselves to Him, we have to take that opportunity. Whatever you can do to serve God, do immediately and determinately without delay. Who knows what obstacles you may face from the outside and from within until you leave it until later. A lot of the time we could push it off. Oh, later I'll do it. But at Dafka, in those moments, we have to do it right now. It's such a deep Torah, Chavra. But at times you may see that despite all your efforts and determination, you simply cannot achieve what you want. Sometimes you must simply wait. I'm not in control. I'm putting in all the effort. I'm putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. It's just not happening. So at some points we just need to let go and stop pushing and just wait. Don't be discouraged when you're in that situation because you are not achieving what you want. Don't let it push you off course. You must wait a little until the time is ripe. There's going to be a time, maybe even later that day, where you can achieve what you want to achieve earlier. Right? So we just need to wait for when the time is right, when Hashem wants us to achieve it. And just forcing yourself all the time may not be so great. Rabbeinu concludes, the most important thing of all is to look to God at all times with longing and yearning, like we spoke about the last 2 days. And really, it's the underlying message with all of Rabbeinu's Torah. Even when things are not going as well as you would like in your prayers and devotions, never despair no matter what. And as soon as God gives you the opportunity to do something holy, do it at once. The beginning. There's no end. But what Rabbeinu is talking about, in the meantime, when we can't achieve what we are achieving, yearn, cry, long for yourself to achieve and to attach yourself to Hashem. And like Rabbeinu said, when the time is right, when Hashem gives you that window to do what you want to do, you take it. And he told us specifically, don't push it off until later that day because you don't know the obstacles. Don't push it off tomorrow because we only have the present. Mir to Hashem. Let's push for consistency. But if we can't attain the consistency, and we know there's going to be obstacles in the way, in the meantime, just wait and yearn. And when the time is right, when the time is ripe, you attack. Mir to Hashem. Guys, questions, comments, anything? Fiery Chevron tonight. I'm just gonna wait. It's just a fiery Chevra. They're loading. Everything is loading. Takes time. They're waiting they're waiting for the right time. They're living this Torah.
The ripe time.
Just about waiting for the right time. Rabbi Nachman says in Chayim Maharan that sometimes you want to try to get something done, a certain thing. I don't know what that is. It can be something in learning. We want to get better at davening. We want to grow a certain way. And no matter how hard we try, it just never happens. And he uses a lashon of lifamim tzrichim la'amtin. Sometimes the only thing that you can do really is just wait and not force things. Forced Yiddishkeit doesn't really work in terms of like being a mechanich, in terms of yourself. If you're going to force yourself sometimes it works, but oftentimes it does not work. You want to try to do it benachas. So you might have this goal of like, oh, I really need to do this today. And you might not have been able to. That doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it tomorrow or in 5 minutes. Just sometimes you just have to wait and be patient. And that itself is also an avoda, right? Sometimes people talk about hishtadlus. They think that means an action. Sometimes bittul is also hishtadlus. Like having hishtadlus and saying, I don't know. When Hashem runs the world, I'm going to shrug emoji and we'll see what happens. Sometimes it's lifamim tzrichim la'amtin. Sometimes you just have to wait and it'll come. It'll eventually get there. Slowly but surely. Slowly. Someone told me in Tzfat, because they're on the way to Tzfat, when I was in Shana Bed and Akot, we went to Tzfat for Shabbos. And there's a Breslov Rebbe there who spoke to us. And after he spoke to all of Akot, I wanted to talk to him because I was excited. So I was like, I just started yelling. I'm like, Rabbeinu, you're driving me crazy. I want to learn all these other things, but I have to also learn Torah. And I was going wild over it. I was like going off on him. And he just looked at me and he goes, you know, they say that his, as in Rabbeinu's, they say his last words were slowly. And he just looked at me like my face lit up. I should watch it on spot for the next who knows how long. Because it's true, slowly, and it makes sense that those are Rabbeinu's last words. If that's true, I don't know, but I mean, slowly. Like eventually you'll get to that point of like, okay, fine. Like if Hashem is here, there's no rush. That's why I don't get when people rush through davening, because if your whole tachlis is to be davak Hashem, then where are you going? There's nowhere else to go. You're right here. Like there's really someone said he wins the race is a deep thing. Okay, that someone else's turn.
Actually, it's always your turn. What are you talking about?
Now it's my turn to listen.
Okay, still your turn.
So continuing Rabashi's turn to listen, it just reminded me, Jack, what you were saying, in terms of, waiting for the right time, the ripe time. I like specifically how that word was used, ripe time, because it relates to ideas of fruit coming into being, fruition. Right? A lot of times we refer to fruits and such as being ripe. And like that really reminded me of the idea, a lot of times we speak in the Sphira, which are going on now, about the balances. And obviously when we're talking about the ideas of patience, things like that, and waiting for opportune times, it's a lot about balance and remembering, how to put two worlds together to achieve that correct mindset. So I think it's so fitting, Jack. We always say somehow everything you say is connected to the sphere of the day, and you only know on an internal level somehow. But right, so the idea of today, we have the idea of Tiferet within the week of Hod. So, I just so crazy because the idea of Tiferet, one of the best ways to represent it, people look at the days of creation, right? The lower seven Sefirot correlated with the 7 days of creation. So Tiferet being the third one of the lower seven in our pattern. It's the third day of creation. What was made? Ripeness. This is when the fruits finally grew for the first time. It was the ripe time. But the most beautiful idea, I think, that was shared in the book that I learned is what Rashi brings down. And he says that when Adam was sitting up there in the Garden of Eden, he was trying to have these fruits come to being, so he could feed himself, feed his wife, and he started doing the work that he thought he would need to do. He started planting the ground, planting the seeds, doing everything he can, being like a man of action, Donnie Sauce, following in the ways, and he did everything he could, and he realized that like it still wasn't growing, it still wasn't enough. Patience wasn't internalized yet, and he realized this is what Rashi says. He had to dive into Hashem. The rain would fall. Once Hashem allowed the rain to fall, that's when things grew. So I think, going back to what I said about the balance that's here, it's so strong, Jack, that you're showing us, is that the patience is so necessary. Taking a step back is so beautiful, so key to a successful life. At the same time, being and demanding that action of ourselves the way you do, the way Donnie does. I'm sure the other Chaver here as well do so well, but I just haven't seen. So I don't know you guys, but right, those worlds of action demanding intertwined with the world of patience and sitting back is the way to from what we see in Rashi, to achieve that true balance. And it's so strong, Jack, always lighting it up, showing us the realized ways.
I see another thing.
Just
because we were just talking about patience.
We already said it. So it's always your turn. We already said that.
I was staring at Donnie's tree in the back. If everyone sees Donnie's tree, we're talking about patience and waiting. So Rav Leibler Eger has a beautiful Torah about Tu B'Shvat. Right, the pasuk says, "Ki Adam Eitz Hasadeh." Right, we're all trees, right? So what happens to a tree? In the fall, it's all beautiful, and you see all the beauty of it. And in the winter, it gets absolutely destroyed, totally destroyed. Like there's no leaves, there's no nothing. It's like naked. There's nothing there. And eventually, in the springtime, a few months later, it blossoms again, and then at the fall, it's beautiful, right? So too a person. So all of us go through a certain winter, right? Usually, like on Elzman and Tishrei, like we're all beautiful. Like, oh, this is gonna be the year. Those ideas. Talk about fire. It generally that means like a burning fire. Like, oh, I'm on fire. A fire can also be born in like small. A fire, but like not so loud, and like I think that's an important thing. But anyways, people are on fire in the beginning of the year, and then it's like Elzman's great, and then like a few months down the line, usually people are stumbling, whatever. Then Hanukkah comes, and like, oh, it's dark and light, I'm gonna be okay, whatever. And like people go through hard things throughout the winter, and so they think, oh my God, like that's it, I have to wait till next year. But no, the Rav Leibler Eger Torah teaches us that we're trees, and we were beautiful, and then we had a winter. But just like the tree doesn't have yeyush, because the tree knows that in a few months from now, I'm going to be beautiful again. So to a person, right? It's mamish nowadays. It's right now. Hayom Mikol Shmo. It's right now. That right now it's spring, and just like trees are about to be blossoming, so too all of us we're all blossoming, right? Half the Torah we learn is just planting seeds because they're eventually going to grow. So the whole concept in Pnimis about Ibur Neshama, about you're by a tzaddik, and then you're impregnated by the tzaddik, and eventually gives birth. But it's important, I'm just staring at down the trees, that there's patience because it doesn't just happen overnight. Things always take time. Like Rav Shlomo Freifeld, for those who know who that is, he was the founder of Rosh Hashiva of Shayashiv. His biography right here, it's Kedai to learn, Rav Moshe Tzvi's favorite book, and Rav Jude really likes it. He said that life is not a revolution, it's an evolution. As in things evolve and take time. It doesn't happen right now. Yeah. It's still my turn, and now's my time to listen.
It's always your turn.
Unreal. Speechless. I'm just.
I feel that, but you're all beautiful, and
thank you for coming on. Anyone else have anything to add?
I was just watching a shir, the Reb Joey shir, and he basically simply like brings down that Chazal say that Adam Rishon partook of the Eitz Hadas on Erev Shabbos, right? Prior to Shabbos, and the world that Adam Rishon was living in was, or I guess like the weekday, so to speak, is a world of Bria, and the world of Shabbos is Atzilas. So Chazal make this connection between Adam Rishon and the sin of Nadav and Avihu, where they actually say that the Eitz Hadas was grapes. It's not something we customarily know it to be, but it was grapes. And the Gematria Yayin, 70, is the same as Bina. So essentially the sin of Adam was that he wanted to connect so greatly, but it wasn't the proper time. And that was the same thing with Nadav and Avihu, right? It was like they were yearning to connect, but they weren't able to nullify themselves. It was like, I want to connect. But Chazal say basically, right? Not Chazal, but Rav Itchmar says that had Adam waited until Shabbos to take from the Eitz Hadas, he would have been able to make a kiddush on the grape juice, on the wine. So it's like sometimes like it's we have to be able to take that yearning and desire for moving forward, for progress, but also recognize that, am I doing this for me? Is it the proper time for this right now? And right, Joey explains that Shabbos, right, when we enter into, Avi's like freaking out right now, but when we enter into Shabbos, this is what you guys will like, is it's a yearning. The miracle of Shabbos is it's a yearning to move forward. I want to connect so badly to Hashem, but I can also accept that wherever I am right now, wherever I find myself, despite the fact that I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to this week, I still accept that it's okay. And I accept that everything that I am right now at this very moment is where I need to be. And that's the miracle of Shabbos. But because Adam couldn't wait until that state to reach that etzios and that bittul, that nullification of himself, he was reaching for something that wasn't in its proper time.
It's just too much. It's too much good. It's a lot to internalize. It's a lot of chazara. I'm gonna need to watch this video over and over again, and write everything down. But thank you so much for sharing, Donnie. Anyone else have anything to share? iPhone, Moshe Schiff, Joshua Hyman as he's heading to Meron. Anyone have anything to share before we conclude?
If it's not too late, because Renachman says it's never too late, then I'll say one anecdote. A few weeks ago, in the Sefer Yom Yom, compiled by the Rebbe, he recorded a Torah recollecting the events that happened on Shavuot in different years. One of them from the times of, I don't know what Donnie just sent, but yeah, sure. B'ezras Hashem. Joy video, Kabbalic. So one of them, So basically, he goes through history, and the Torah that he shares there is on the words of Sefartim Lachem, which we say in regards to counting the Omer, which we say both prior to counting the Omer and after. Some people say just after, some people say neither, whatever. But the Psukim go, Usefartim Lachem Mecharat HaShabbat Miyom Haviechem Et Omer Tenufa. Right, when we shall count the days between when we bring right after Pesach until we bring the waved Omer offering after 50 days. So the Maggid of Mezrich says that the words Usefartim Lachem represent the words Usefartim has the root word of Sefer, which also stands for Sapir, which means illumination. And the word meaning to say that Usefartim Lachem, and you made yourselves luminaries. Meaning to say, as in the Torah that we've been learning today, is that we have to have patience. And just like a luminary of like the sun and the moon, they have their proper times. Like right now in Israel, the Holy Land, it's nighttime and it's the time of the moon. And in a few hours, it'll be the time of the sun. And so too for us, when we're Usefartim, when we're illuminating all that around us, all those things around us, we need to know our proper times. And I think this is what the Rebbeinu is coming to tell us here. To understand when is our time to be lighting up the world with our fire. And as Ashi said, that both the fire that's lighting up the world and that's warming the world at the same time. So that's just the tefillah that we should have.
Beautiful, beautiful tefillah. Thank you, Samson, so much, and everyone else. Guys, this was Gavaldic. What a night. I just want to wish you guys nothing but health, happiness, and success. Whether you're in Meron or heading to Meron, whether you're actually in the cave, in Rashbi's cave, and he's giving tours in a couple of weeks. Price of admission it's 1,500 shekel per person. Or whether you're in Toronto, Mamish, learning by Hanukkah each and every day. Whether you're in Shalavim, going to IDC next year, whether you're building bridges from Chashmo to Herzliya, so we can get there in Mamish less than 10 minutes. Mirza Hashem. Chavra, everyone have a safe night, an amazing night, a healthy night, and we'll continue tomorrow. Bezrat Hashem. Lag BaOmer!